My name is Ashok. A very quick introduction about myself. 20 plus years of information technology experience, and I have about 3 plus years of experience. Last 3 years I've spent on big data, and I do product consulting. I've worked on retail projects, e-commerce, and I've also worked on network analytics, business analytics, and all those areas. And I've been pretty passionate about being an educator as well. So I've been doing this for 2 plus years, and this is me. And so today we have a pretty interesting topic. We have a topic called big data analytics for non-programmers. So just a quick question, because if I can see how many of you have joined, I can see 22 people, right? So how many of you are actually non-programmers? I can see 23 names. Just a quick gut check. I just thought I'll do it. Non-programmer, okay? Okay, all right. So it makes it like 5 or 6. So that's not bad. It's about 25%, I would say, of the crowd, right? So or less than that, right? That's not bad. So rest of you have a bit of programming bent. So I'm glad about that. But anyway, it's good to know, right? So thanks, friends. So what I'm going to do today, we are here to discuss. There is a very strong notion in big data circle, especially in Hadoop and all that, right? People think that they cannot conquer it. They cannot conquer big data Hadoop without the knowledge of a programming language, especially Java. So this is a very wrong notion, and we are here to prove it, right? So we are here to discuss and also make sure that how we can still learn, how we can still use big data with some of the other ecosystem tools which are specifically which have been built for non-Java folks, right? So let's see that, friends. So here is the deck. So I'll also show you, the structure is going to be, friends. I'm going to spend few minutes in the deck, maybe 20-25 minutes. I have very few slides, by the way, like 12 or 13 slides, right? Let's spend some time on discussing those things. Then we shall move on to the, I have a couple of demos. So I want you to be a little patient there, because even if it extends, let's say, beyond 60 minutes, so be patient with me. I'll try to wrap it up maybe as soon as, I close with the demos, right? Is that fine, friends? Are you all with me on that? Yes? Awesome. All right. So let's start with the deck. Let me give the full screen. Can Hadoop be learned without knowing Java? How Pig can be used in place of MapReduce, querying data with HiveQL, right? So this is what we are going to do pretty much, right? So this is exactly our, I would say it's a moot point for us, right? So a lot of people have this notion that, these two are inseparable and, we need to know Java, so which is quite wrong, right? So Hadoop can be learned, right? So we are here to say Hadoop can be learned without knowing Java. That is the first big statement we want to make, right? We want to clearly say to the world that Hadoop can be done without Java. Point number one. Let's move forward. How? Okay, Tushar, I'll come to that. How we can do, because Tushar, that it's just a couple of words. I mean, if I need to give a short answer, that's why we are saying here Pig, Hive, these are all alternatives, right? They're all alternatives for MapReduce, right? Correct? So I mean, that's the short answer, and we will see how, right? We will exactly see how. Okay. Tools like Pig and Hive that are actually built on top of Hadoop offer high-level languages for working with data, right? So if you look at Pig and Hive, right? If you look at it, Pig is a data flow language, right? And it makes it supremely easy for us to, anybody to quickly learn the language and work on it, right? It's pretty simple. Even the non-programmers do not have much of a problem, right? So it says if you do not want to write MapReduce program, then you can use Pig Latin, for which knowledge of Java is not required, right? I mean, you can also do MapReduce, but you know, you can, Pig is an abstraction of MapReduce, in other words, right? Pig is an abstraction of MapReduce, and it hides the complexity of MapReduce, right? So Pig was actually born in Yahoo, correct? So they were doing a lot of, they do a lot of, they were removing the bots, clicks, because they do collect a lot of such data, right? So Pig is primarily used as a transformation tool in those cases, and it is also used as a, it supports a lot of functions like regular expression and all that. So you can do a lot of cleanups using Pig, correct? And it is a data flow language. It is quite high level. It is like whatever, we do it as a simple pseudocode. This is the way I look at it, friends, right? If I tell you, you do a simple, uh, let's say, if I tell you to, write a simple program with a, you know just open this and do some action, then print it, all those things, right? So Pig is almost, it is like a pseudocodish language which has got a lot of functionalities which the SQL provides, like, group by, filter. We are going to see that in the subsequent slide. But my point is, it makes it very, very simple, right? Pig makes it very simple for even the non-programmers, right? And if you want to view data in HDFS in readable form, you can use Hive, which again does not require any knowledge of Java, right? Hive is used as a data warehousing, right? It is a tool for querying, and it is a tool for, especially mining the data and all those areas, right? So Hive is extremely useful that way. And Hive typically uses structured data, right? Structured data it uses. So let's see. Let's move a little forward. Why Pig? Pig simplifies complex MapReduce program by using Pig Latin, right? Pig Latin is that's a language, right? And additionally, if you want to write your MapReduce code, you can also do it in any language, Perl, Python, Ruby, C, and all that. But the most attractive features of Pig or 10 lines of Pig is 200 lines of Java, right? Plus join, I told you, right? Whatever the SQL-ish kind of functions, they are pretty much here. Join, group, filter, sort, and it also supports some data types like tuples and all that, which is probably not found in your typical MapReduce, right? And the most important feature, as the slide mentions, 10 lines of Pig is 200 lines of Java, which is significant, right? So it completely improves the developer's productivity, right? So the statistics has proven that a person, if you train a newcomer, a novice, right? If you train a novice for 6 days, someone who has got, let's say, information from the engineering background, right? Let's put it that way. Someone with that background, with a training of 4 or 5 days, they can write a production ready code in Pig, right? So that's the kind of learning curve you have. It is just a very, very easy learning curve. There's no, you just need to be logical. That's all, right? Whereas for Java, the complexity, right? Java takes anywhere between, I think the proven statistics is like, it's anywhere between 60-65 days for someone to write a production ready code. So that's a pretty steep climb for someone to make. So that's the kind of difference we are talking about. And again, there is a notion within the Pig community. Some people think that, Pig is generally used for prototyping, right? If you're given some quick thing to prototype, or it is used as an ad hoc way to analyze the data, analyze the big data and all that. It is also used for sampling, right? So there is a notion there also that, Pig is used for such small things. The answer is a huge no. Pig can be used for analyzing any kind of data set, right? It can handle whatever MapReduce can do, right? Pretty much it can do that. Plus, it is also, you know, uh, there there could be scenarios in which, like, Pig is not so efficient in, certain things, like, if you have very complex loops, or very, very unstructured data like, video, audio, and all that stuff, right? If you have such combinations, Pig may not have the solution. Pig may not have the solution. Same time, if it can do all the other things, right? You can still stick to Pig. You can still stick to Pig and probably have those areas, whatever things, which is not supported. Maybe you can use the MapReduce. Maybe you can hire a developer and just get that part done and call it as a user defined function UDF inside Pig, right? That's possible, right? So the bottom line is Pig can be used as an alternative for your Java MapReduce combination, right? So it makes it pretty attractive, friends. So there are a lot of people I've seen, they've actually embraced Pig, and Pig is a growing community and it is open source. It makes it all the more effective because it is open source. It's pretty simple, and it just focuses on the what part, not the how part, right? If you look at Java MapReduce, right, it gives you a complete handle. So it gives you that freedom. At the same time, it comes with a lot of baggage, right? You need to define the file format, you need to define what is a key value pair and all that stuff, right? Here you just tell what needs to be done, and the how part is handled by the Pig, right? Pig engine, let's put it that way. Okay, Java not mandatory in this case. So Pig can chew any kind of data, right? Structured, semi-structured, unstructured data. It's easy to learn, similar to SQL, reads like a series of steps, and it is extensible, as I told you, right? User-defined function, you can use it. Python, JavaScript, Ruby also, you can do that. Provides common data operations, filters, joins, ordering, nested data types such as tuples, bags, maps, which are certainly missing from MapReduce, right? Pig supports that. Plus, an ad hoc way of creating, executing MapReduce jobs on very large data sets. Open source, actively supported by a community of developers. See, as I told you, right? Ad hoc way is like, again, we shouldn't think it's just used for this. It can be used for a regular, a huge, let's say you are uh, having a very large cluster, and you have a running in the production and all that, you can very well use Pig over there as well, right? So I mean, I've seen, friends, one thing which I want to quote, which I keep telling in the many classes. uh, there is one of the authors, right? I don't remember the name of the person. One of the Pig evangelist who has authored 2 3 Java books, right? He has authored 2 3 books on Java, right? So that person is a Pig evangelist apparently, right? And he advocates people to actually go for Pig because he sees the tremendous simplicity in that. Because see, the big data is all about, you're trying to solve a big data problem and not to get hung up on some complexity in a language and all that, because you're here to solve the problem, right? Or you want to analyze the problem. That's the objective. So he says, Pig doesn't miss a beat there. So you're straight away on the job, and you straight away you focus on the problem than get hung up on all this Java related class path, JDK, and all those things, right? So that is coming out very clearly, and he says try to use Pig as much as possible, right? He glorifies that Pig. And he also says, even if you cannot use, at least go with uh, the places where you cannot use, just use MapReduce, and use it as a UDF within the Pig, right? So that's the path he's preaching, correct? And why Hive? Okay, now it's time to look for Hive. Hive defines, it has got a SQL-like query language. In fact, Hive, it is very, it has got the dialect of MySQL, friends. So if you know MySQL, right, it is pretty much the same thing. Um, so people with MySQL expertise, they would find it pretty simple to use Hive. Allows programmers to plug in custom mappers and reducers. That's possible. Data warehouse infrastructure. Hive maintains its own warehouse. Provides tools to enable easy ETL. Right? Hive has this. Right? So if you look at it, features of Hive. You can use Hive to read write files on Hadoop, run your reports from a BI tool. It is used as a document indexing, predictive modeling, and hypothesis testing. So you can, anything to, any futuristic things. You can do predictive. You can use that in predictive modeling, right? uh, and customer facing BI, because you can do that because this is predominantly a mining tool, right? Hive can be used as a mining tool, and it does extensive mining. And just remember, Hive supports, it comes with high throughput. It's pretty similar to what Hadoop does. It doesn't support low latency queries and all that, but there are ways to actually uh, come up with faster queries. There are ways to do that. Log processing, it is used in, and data mining. It's predominantly a OLAP, suitable for OLAP processing, right, friends? You can do that. Okay. Any questions, friends? Before I start off with the demo, I think I probably finished it sooner than what I thought. Okay, if I have, okay, that's it. So, of course, this will be uh, certainly, I will step into the demo right away. But any questions? Tushar is saying, I'm reading out Tushar's question right now. I am still wondering how the problem looks like as long as term big data is concerned. Uh, how the problem looks like big data is concerned. So Tushar, if I understand your problem, your question better, I'm just trying to rephrase it. How, I mean, would Pig be able to handle the big data is what your question is all about? Is that what your question is? Can Pig handle big data? Certainly, yes, Tushar. That's what I'm saying, right? In fact, if you have very small data, right, data set, I think you're insulting Pig. You're insulting Pig or Hive because they are suitable. I mean, they have been designed. They have been designed to um, work on large data sets. It can also do small, but in order to leverage the power of Pig and all that, you have to use a very massive data set, right? Is it possible to write MapReduce code in Fortran? Um, I know you can do it in Python, you can do it in Perl, you can do it in Ruby. Um, of course, Java is de facto. I'm not sure about Fortran, Alexander. I'm not quite sure about that. But these languages are, they are there. I'm not sure about Fortran though. I wish I knew the answer for this. Yeah, and similarly, just to give you a little bit of perspective about Hive. Hive was, the way Pig was born in Yahoo. Hive was actually born in Facebook, right? So Facebook, one fine day, I mean, they were doing lots and lots of, they have multiple servers, and the kind of data what they have, right? People download, 500 million photographs, upload that many photographs, and people do like all those stuff, right? So it's a pretty active, vibrant site, which has got a population of, it's almost more than the it's inching towards 2 billion, right? If someone takes a census, someone defines a country based on the size of the population, Facebook would be the probably the it can become the number one nation kind of thing, right? So it's becoming very uh, it's a growing community and all. It has taken the number one position in that front, right? I mean, it has destroyed Orkut, and Google Plus is also facing the wrath, right? So they are also almost done now, correct? I'm not sure whether they closed it, but it's just couldn't compete with Facebook here. So Facebook has got deeply entrenched with all the people, and they are like really moving there, right? So my point is, with the kind of data they are processing, right? So they do extensive analysis, and they process close to 100,000 queries, more than that, per day, right? Imagine the number of query. I mean, the volume of the queries and all that. So they and their data was like growing like a monster. So they were using all this Oracle and all that. So they had to come to a platform where they can handle big data. So for them to do the MapReduce, right, it is very tough, right? So most of the guys were like from the SQL background, so they had to they didn't want to get into a trade-off situation, like they have to let go and probably or train them. That was a one heck of a big problem they had. So they came up with an abstraction which is Hive, right, which actually you know uh, took the it takes a SQL dialect, as I told you, and it internally processes things in MapReduce, right? So it hides the complexity, and all those guys, those several programmers who are SQL experts, they were leveraged here, right? Okay, so now what are the prerequisites? Okay, I'm looking at a couple of questions here. Let me answer this and go to the demo, friends, quickly, right? I am new to big data analytics. I am a Java developer. What is the average time required to learn big data? It is a very subjective, it depends on, you know, it's a subjective question, Guru Prasad. So uh, it's not like, someone with a great aptitude, and someone put some effort and all that, but a person with Java background, and I would say it is a kind of natural progression. So you can actually possibly try to understand the Hadoop architecture, and how MapReduce works and all that, right? With a little bit of effort there, I think if you spend the next 3 to 6 months learning these things, and try to do some projects in this front, I think you stand a good chance. What are the prerequisites? I think Guru Prasad, I hope I answered your question. Could you tell about HDFS? So Aditya Gupta, I think I don't want to deviate away from my main focus, but I'll just tell you a nutshell answer. HDFS is Hadoop file system, which is an integral component of Hadoop, right? So there are two components in Hadoop, which is, when you say Hadoop, there are two components which are together. The one is the Hadoop file system, which is HDFS. On top of that, you also have a MapReduce, right? Which is the processing. So these two are like kind of coupled, and that constitute Hadoop, right? Is that fine? Is big data going to overtake DB and become the only storage? I think that's a very wrong statement to make, John. So the thing is, big data is a problem, right? So DB is a database, right? Big data is not the database as such. Big data is a problem, okay? And we have Hadoop as a framework, and which provides the solution, right? So there are so many databases, which handles big data, right? Let's say Teradata, which is not part of the Hadoop and all that. It can handle big data, but it's not an open source. And you can look at some of the traditional database vendors like Oracle and all. They're all trying to adapt to big data challenges, like they have come up with Exadata and all that. So there are, even these vendors are moving in that direction. And of course, you have a lot of uh, open source, like you have those NoSQL databases and all that. So they are also trying to they are gradually gaining market share here, right? Of course, the top leaders are still RDBMS, but these guys are gaining market share. They're gradually getting in there. Does it answer your question, John? All right, thank you. So let's move on. I think if I don't have anything here, let's, one second, friends. I guess this is it. So I'll go to the demo part. So just to give you a, I'll just present a couple of demos here, one on Pig and one on Hive. So let's see what, this is my virtual machine, which I'm running it on the VM player, right? Uh, So this is my sample data set, friends. Let me start off with Pig. Okay, let me start off with Pig. So I'll tell you, this is my data set. I'm just trying to explain this. I have bunch of URLs, websites that are being visited. Okay, this is the number of times the page has been visited. This is the page size, right? This is sort of irrelevant, right? So this is the time, this is the number of page visits. Let me possibly put this. I'll say the language, right? I'm sorry, language, and this is the URL, and this is the visits, and this is the let's say size, right? These are the four things I have, right? And if I were to ask you, friends, so it clearly shows that that is English. This is a site name, and this is the number of times the page has been visited, and here is the page size, right? Here's the page size. This is all I have, right? Now my problem statement here, let me put it this way. My problem statement here is to find out, let's say, the pages, number of pages, number of visits, I would say, visits for each URL or site, right? Number of visits for each site, okay, of for only English, right? Do you understand the problem, friends? Did I make it clear or did I confuse you here? My English is not so good, so I just want to, I don't know whether I put that correctly. Is that clear? I'm saying to find out the number of visits for each URL for only English. Is that clear? Okay, all right, thanks. Glad it's clear. All right, now I want to ask you, friends. I want to keep it like I want to get your pick your brains as well here. How do I approach this problem? It's a very super simple problem. So I just want to um, get your thoughts on this. Get your thoughts. Counting. No, just give me the simple pseudocode, friends. You don't need to give me any syntax or anything. You just tell me from a simple layman perspective. Yeah, okay. Mohit says filter. Yeah, that's the kind of step I want, whatever he says, right? Filter by language, right? So that's one of the things we need to do, right? Filter by language, okay? So I would say, okay, filter by language. So it is like, in other words, if I filter it by English, then I am filtering out Chinese, right? I have only two categories, right? Two languages. Then what is the next step, friends? What is the next step? This is my first step. What is the next step? Sum up visits. Okay. Count the visits. Okay. For each URL, right? Okay. Before that, would you do something else? Is there anything else to be done? Should we do a grouping? Group by, do you think that is needed, friends? And then do the sum up. Because, I have repetitions, right? Correct? So I need to group these things so that, it is aggregated. Plus group by URL. Exactly, right? Group by URL. What is the third thing I have to do? Count, let's say, visits, right? Is this do you think this logic will work if I try to programize this simple pseudocode, right? Do you think this logic should work? Okay, people say yes. Okay, let me show you the actual code which I'm going to show you, right? So let's say this one. You will be surprised the kind of you'll be surprised how simple pig is, right? So let's say I'm saying, friends, this same file, right? I'm loading it because it doesn't have any schema, right? All I have is this data, correct? So let me copy this here so that you can see it alongside data. So exactly you can relate to what I'm saying, what you have said so far, right? So I'm, pig always, I need to assign it to a relation, correct? So I cannot say load straight, I need to assign it to a relation, right? And it is a data flow language, right? You will find sequence of steps here. So I'm loading it from the location of HDFS, right? The pig, whatever input, because pig runs in HDFS mode by default. That means it has to run in the cluster, right? If it has to run in the cluster, then you have to load the file. Input file has to be in HDFS, Hadoop file system, and output file also needs to be generated in HDFS. Correct, friends? So here, if you actually see, right, I am saying load. What is that I'm saying? I'm saying pig input sample. Okay, this file, right? I also have it in the HDFS. I'll show you here. So the same file. If I see pig, if I see input, right? You have this sample, correct? This is the same file I have, right? So I am loading that, correct? I'm loading that as project the language is character array. Everything is the first couple of things are character array. Page name is a character array. Page count and page size are integers, right? These are some of the primitive, the basic data types Pig supports, and it has got some other types as well. So let's not get in there. And as you rightly said, filtered records, right? This is my next uh, relation. Okay, I am saying, what do I do? I am filtering records, right? I'm filtering records by language is equal to, double equal to I'm doing, because I'm checking for a condition, right? Is equal to English, correct? This is English, right? I am simply checking that. Then I'm saying grouped records, right? I need to group it. Filtered records by page name. This is page name. Okay, and whenever I have a double hyphen, it's just a it's a comment in Pig, right? It's a comment in Pig programming. And next thing, I need to, once I am done with the grouping, I need to, for each group, right, I need to count the number of visits, right? I will be looping it through, correct? So I'm doing a for each grouped records, generate group. Group is a alias here. Okay, generate group is nothing but whatever is the you know uh, the group here. We have grouped it on page name, right? The group actually represents page name here, right? Group and the sum of filtered records dot page count, right? Sum of this, right? So for example, if I let's say let's say if I filter out, friends, let me tell you the way it is going to happen, right? Let's manually do this and see. Let me filter out, let me remove this, let me remove this, let me remove this, right? Do you all agree that Twitter is out of the game now because it only had Chinese, right? And some of the other pages of Yahoo and Google also vanished along with it, right, friends? Is that clear? Now I have only 4 pages here. So in other words, I have google.com, and what should be the count, friends? What should be the count of Google? Okay, excellent, Amit. Amit is fast off the blocks. Yeah, Anirban. Yeah, everybody is saying that now. Excellent. What about Yahoo? Yahoo is 60, right? So thank you. Yeah, thanks. Okay, this is all. This is my going to be my final answer, right? This is my expected answer. Okay, and if you look at Pig, right? I'm like, okay. First thing, I've grouped it and I'm looping it. So these are all results, right? If I want to do it, I can also use a ordinal number and all that instead of doing this generate group and all that. I can also say generate $0, right? Because it's zero based, I can also do that in Pig. And these are all comments. So let's say if I ignore this, right? Ignore these comments. Sorry. Let me ignore this. Okay. And let's say I also ignore this. And let me ignore this as well. Okay. Let it run. Let it run. I want to give like, a meaningful name. December 1st output, right? December 1st output, and I want to give something like, let's say I want to give a this symbol, caret symbol. December 1st output, it's a special first day of this month, right? So let's put it this way. And once I get the results, right, this is going to pretty much give me this, right? It's expected to give me this. The first step, it would have filtered. Second step, it would have grouped by. Third step, it would have, when I do the for each, it would have done this. Okay, let me also remove this just to remove the confusion here. Okay, and let me remove this also. Okay, now remove all the comments basically, so just to make it look compact and tidy here. Then I'm sorting the results by group, right? I'm doing it on the group, otherwise so that Google comes first, right? Because it's alphanumeric. This is group is nothing but here it generates page name, right? I mean, page name is the one that is that's the one which is represented by the alias group, right? Then I am storing the output onto the HDFS in this location. And is that clear, friends, so far? Awesome. Okay. Now I'm going to execute this file. So let me just tell you, how it is, like, I can put that in the grunt shell so that, pig has got a beautiful, okay. Someone, Anirban is asking, what is this, right? So Anirban, this is, what to say? This is the, let's say, um, I'm giving this as the delimiter, right? I can give anything, Anirban. Let's say I can also give this, or I can give space as the delimiter, right? So when it finally prints here, right? So when I put caret symbol, it is expected to print something like this. Let's say, is that clear, Anirban? Sorry, I should have mentioned about that. So let me put it. Let's say I put um, this one, right? Tilde. Okay. So it would print something like this. Correct? All right. Now, if you look at this program, I want to specifically ask the non-programmers, do you find this complex? Because if you find this complex, that means I have not done my job. Do you find this complex or do you find it easy? Do you find it very intuitive the way you have structured the pseudocode? Pretty straightforward, right, friends? I mean, don't tell to, just to, make me happy, but, I want to be really, I want you to be candid here. It cannot be easier than this, friends. So I'm very sure about the Vaibhav, are you saying it is complex or it's easy? Vaibhav saying no complex. Okay, so can I take it as easy, or you're saying no, it is complex? Okay, easy. Okay, Prasanna says easy. All right. So friends, yes, provided you know all the commands and constructs. Yeah, absolutely, Tushar. I mean, if you go to Apache Pig, right? It is super simple. You have all those commands and all that. You just see it is, look at it, right? It is just the way, that you look at the pseudocode, right? Just open the file, filter it, group it, loop it, order it if you want, and then you store it. Correct? Filtered records, are there any pig specific user defined? No, these are all, for these are all pig commands: filter, load, group, for each. These are all pig keywords for your example, like, for example, generate, sum. These are all the sum is a function here, right? So order, all these are pig keywords which you need to be aware of. Correct? So these are all the things, as Tushar says, right? These are all the things which you need to learn. Correct? So, but to me, this learning is not at all, it's, I can certainly say that, if you have learned Java, you will know how easy it is, right? But if you even start without knowing any programming language, this is very much like a pseudocode. Although it supports SQL things, right? It just, right? It is like a pseudocode, right? Maybe some code can be copied and reused to save time. Exactly, Tushar. See, the point is, I'm going to show you in the grunt shell. Grunt shell is a interactive shell that is used in the pig, right? But same time, I should tell you, the whole thing, right? This um, let's say this is the, I'm going to show one by one just to make you, make you feel comfortable. But I can run this as a script as well. I can run this as a script, like, sample.pig. I'll also run it towards the end from the shell, right? From the shell, I can run it in one shot. I don't need to go through the grunt. Grunt is an interactive shell which is primarily used for debugging, right? So let's run this, friends, one by one, right? So let me copy this and, put it in the grunt shell. Let's try it out. Let's say records is this. Okay. Now, just a minute. I'm running one by one. See, it doesn't kick in the map reduce until it encounters a store or a dump statement, right? So it doesn't kick in the map reduce, so we are good with that. Filtered records is this. Third one, grouped records, right? And results, done. Now store. sorted results, order results by group. Okay, final one is store the results onto something. So let me say there is a fantastic diagnostic operator, illustrate, right? If I want to do this, right, illustrate, what it does is, suppose you don't know how the pig is going to work, you can always use the illustrate. It will tell you how the data is going to be, how it is going to be fetched right from this, right from the first step, right from this all the way till here, right? It will tell you how the data flow is going to be. Okay, so Phil is asking right now, what is grunt? So grunt is an interactive shell, Phil. So why it is called grunt is because pigs do grunt, right? Pigs grunt uh, in the literal sense. So it is called the grunt shell. So that's how it is. Yeah, thanks. If you look at it, this is going to call the map reduce. Okay, this is going to call the map reduce. Okay, look at it, right? It's pretty. So it has picked up. Actually, Illustrate takes a sample of the data and it will tell you how it is going to approach the problem. So the sample itself is pretty small, right? Well, the data set, whatever we have taken, is pretty small. So look at this. It has taken this, then it has filtered for only English, right? So it is actually telling the approach, how the pig would approach the problem. So you can, in case you want to modify or anything, right, you can always, go back to you revisit the script in case you are not comfortable with what Illustrator has done. But this is up, it is up to a developer to see whether the illustration is fine or not, right? Whether he wants to take a corrective action based on this, right? Then the grouped records, look at this. It is kind of getting the, Google has got this is called a tuple in pig, right? Nested data type. So Google has got 3, Yahoo has got 1. Then it is like 60 and 150. This is how it is. Then you are sorting it out based on Yahoo comes first. So sorting it based on the the URL. So Google comes first, 150, and Yahoo 60. And this is what it says is this is how pig is going to solve the problem, right? It is going to kick in the map reduce, and because it has to do the aggregation and all, because we are doing a group by and all that, right? So let's say we are doing this, this is a grunt shell, right? Let's say I don't want to run it in the grunt shell because this is like a debugging one, right? Now you're pretty convinced this is the solution for you, right? What if you want to run this code on a nightly job daily in the production, right? Production server, you want to hit and run this program over and over and over, right? So you want to run it from the shell. You don't want to come back to the grunt shell and do all these things, right? So what I will do, I'll go back here. So let's say this is a Hive shell, right? So let's say I want to go here and I'm sorry. Oh, this is where I am. Okay. Let's say I want to do pig sample.pig. This is where my let me show you ls. This is where my sample.pig is there, right? Sample.pig is there. So, and I'll say pig sample.pig, right? I want to run it like this, right? Pretty simple. So let it run, and I want to store the information, the final output, in the location where I just showed you, right? This is where it is going to be stored. The location is here, right? December 1st, whatever. Okay, I think it is going to be put in as this folder. So let me uh, October 24th, new something. Yeah, let's see whether it puts it there, right? Pig output. Okay, so let's say I want to put in somewhere else, friends. Just let's say December 1st, right? December 1st, pig, right? December 1st, pig. Let's say because this folder already exists, right? It's not going to like it. So let's do it again. Sorry about that. Um, I'm doing it here. Just a minute. Pick sample.pig. There you go. it's still doing. All right. So it's almost done, friends. Just a minute. Which editor would you use to write the code? How would you compile? Tushar, I use gedit. You can also use vi, right? It's taking time, huge. Okay. Amit is saying it's taking huge time for small data set. Yeah, that's a very, very valid. I mean, it's done now. It's almost done now. That's true, Amit. But I'll tell you why. Pig is leveraged to use a large data set, right? It is like, friends, let me tell you a fancy example. Suppose, you are taking a huge, let's say you are blocked a ship, right? Which can take, let's say 5,000 people, right? Unfortunately, due to some circumstances, you have only 5 people in that ship, right? Do you think the operational expense would be cut down? It's not, right? Because the ship still has to use most of the resources for it to move, right? So similarly here, this is supposed to process a huge data set, but what we have, it is like, it's a pretty it we are using a small data set because it's we are just doing a quick demo here, right? But it can very well, it won't take too much time for processing a large data set, right? It's not going to significantly it'll take same time. No, I'm not saying same time Viber, but it won't be like, if you think this is taking let's say 2 minutes, when you increase the data set, it's not going to be like directly proportional. It's not going to be like that, right? It's going to be faster. Trust me on that. Okay, so it is done. Success. I can see success. Let's go back here. Pig output. December 1st pig. Here you go. Okay. I mean, I didn't put the, what you say, tilde there. This is the one we did, right? So we used asterisk, right? So it has generated this way, right? I can use any delimiter there. Friends, are you clear with pig? So I just I wanted you to feel the simplicity, right? To me, that's the one I'm trying to emphasize, friends. It's the simplicity, and also there is absolutely no need for you to learn Java and all the complexities of Java, because if you saw Pig, what it had done, look at this. When you looked into this, right, it has actually used, MapReduce and everything, right? It had used MapReduce, correct? It triggered a MapReduce job, but you were like, you just start you we all we did was, we just told the pig, okay, this is what I want. But what it did, the how part it beautifully handled, right? There was no problem at all. It called, job tracker, whatever, whatnot, right? It did all those things. But we are not worried because we just focused on the what part. The how part was very much handled by pig. So let me close this guy. Let me come to this, and let's say, let me close this, friends. I don't want to be here without saving. So now, this is the editor. Someone asked me, right? Did you use this editor? This is the editor, which I just showed you, right? It's like a notepad-ish kind of editor. You can also use VI, right? So that you can, it's left to your choice. So let it stay open, and I'm just switching the gear and moving on to Hive, friends. Let me quit from here, right? And this is it, right? I'll okay. Very user friendly as well. Tushar says, absolutely, Tushar. Very, very user friendly and supremely easy. Trust me on that. So the thing is, Java and all that, that's just a portion, and people think that that's the only way they can do MapReduce. Absolutely not. There are so many other ways, and you can tackle the big data problem, right? So this is the Hive prompt. So if I see show database, and I'm switching gear here, I'm coming to Hive. So Hive, as I said, it is very, let's say, it's SQL-ish. It uses the MySQL dialect, correct? So let's create a database, friends. So I just saw the database, right? This is so let's say I create a new database. Create, let's say December 1, right? Um, test. I don't want to sound so complicated. Okay, let's put it this way. December 1 test, correct? So before that, I just need to, the syntax is like this: create database December 1 test, and I need to end it with a semicolon. Done. Okay. Now if I say show databases, it's supposed to show this as well. December 1 test is right up there, right? So it is coming. So let me load few things as part of the code, whatever I have, right? As let me take, let me go to Hive. I'm going to show you a simple demo, how I do partitioning and all that. So let's say I want to open this. I want to open this, and this is it. Just a second. Okay, all right. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to use this setting. So it at least tells you which database is actually in use. Otherwise, you don't realize which database is. It is actually using default, right? So if I want to use my current database, right? What am I supposed to say? December 1st test, right? This is it. So I'm there, correct? Okay, so friends, I'll look at the question window. Bear with me. I'm going to look at the question window once I'm done with the Hive demo, right? Please bear with me on that. I'm definitely going to take those questions. So December 1 test. So I have the database with me, right? Now look at this. The one I'm going to use it, right? The one I'm going to use it, like, I see I have a transaction record, right? So this is actually transaction1.txt. I have loaded this file. Let me see. I don't know whether I loaded this. Okay, let me open this. Transaction1.txt, right? It's a pretty big data set, correct? Fairly big data set. If you look at it, it has got a transaction number, and it has got the transaction date, and it has got some uh, what is the third one? Date, customer number, right? Customer number, amount, and it has got the category, product, city, state, payment mode, right? It's and you got around, I think you have, like, several thousands of records, right? Right, friends? So this is what I have. So I am going to analyze. See what I'm going to do. I'm going to create this database, right? Where do I, not creating the database, I'm creating a table, correct? So now that we have created the database, so I put the context to use this database, current database, which is December 1st, da da da. Now I'm going to use this, create the table, right? That's the step number next, correct? So I am going to go there, Hive prompt. So let me copy this over. So this is my create table. Look at the syntax. Transaction number. So I do all these things, right? Row format delimited. I just want to tell you, friends, format delimited, fields terminated by this, stored as text file, right? So what this means is, okay, it is very quickly created. If you look at this, right, the delimiter used is actually comma. Which is the delimiter I'm talking about, friends? I'm talking about this delimiter, right? It is comma everywhere, right? Here is the delimiter. Fields terminated, right? Fields terminated is actually, that's the delimiter, and stored as you can have it as a sequential file and all that. So here it is a text file format, correct? The file is a text file format. So it has created the table, right, within the December 1st test database. Where do I go and look at it? If I go and check, let's say from here, if I go and look at it, this is the place where I've configured in the Hive QL, right? There is a Hive XML, there is a Hive XML configuration file, right, where I actually set the location of my warehouse, right? So this is where it is pointing to. This is actually configurable, but I'm just saying for now, this is where it is. Warehouse, if you look at it, it has created the database nicely, and I have the transaction records. And why is it empty, friends? Any reason? Why is it empty? Any guesses here? Okay. No data. Okay. Super simple, right? We didn't, no, we executed it, but we didn't load any data. Exactly. So that's what Mohit is trying to say. Exactly. Right? So I'm going to load the data. That's my next step, right? So if you look at the syntax, again, super simple. Load data, local in path, because I'm loading it from the local file system. I'm not picking it from the HDFS. I can also pick it from HDFS, but I'm just saying, I'm saying local data, local in path. If I don't say local in path, right? If I just say load data in path, then it'll look for this path from HDFS, right? Since this file is going to be loaded from local, I'm going to say local as the keyword, one of the keywords. So let's say I copy this and put it over there. Sure. What it has done, it has copied this file, right? It has copied this file onto the location. If I go and check it out now, this file has come in, right? All these things. So you may be wondering, what is that I'm trying to do, right? What is that I'm trying to do? Because I want to dynamically partition. Okay, I want to partition the data uh, based on the category, right? I want to partition based on category, right? So you must have heard about the partition, friends. It is like, it is like a slice of a pie, right? If I want to, let's say you have Aadhaar card data, if people tell you to partition it based on the zones, right? You may probably create 4 or 5 partitions, like, north zone, central zone, west zone, east zone, so on and so forth, right? uh, right, this is how you're going to do. So this is like, I'm going to partition, because in Hive you can also do a static partitioning, you can also do dynamic partitioning, which is like, it's going to happen during the runtime, right? So I'm going to do a dynamic partition here, correct? So I have done this, like, I've loaded the data. Now if I do a select star from if I say just transaction records, right? Transaction records, right? Transaction records. Is this yeah, it's going to load everything, correct? It's going to load everything. So I'll just let it run. I'm not worried about that for now, right? So these are all some of the other things, but I'm not overly bothered about. You can do describe. Describe will go into give you the schema. So let's say, right? It gives you the schema, right? Transaction number, this amount, double, category, string, product, all those things, right? This is the describe part. If I do a count star, it's going to tell me how many number of. It's actually going to do a map reduce, right? It's going to do a map reduce and tell me the number of records, right, in this table, correct? Let it run meanwhile. So if I want to get the top 10 customers, I can do all this, limit 10 and all that. If I want to do total spending by category, like if you look at it, right, category, sum of amount, and transaction records group by category. So I can do all these things. So let's see how many records it's saying. Fetched one row. Total, okay, it's 50,000 records, right? This is it's fairly a big data set, right? 50,000 records I have, correct? Now, if I do a partition table, what am I supposed to do? Let's say, first of all, before I do the partition, I need to tell Hive, because Hive by nature, it is very conservative, right? It runs in the, safe, as a safety measure, it runs in the strict mode, which actually prohibits, if you see this, right, queries from partition tables without a where clause. So sometimes, if you don't give non-strict, right, a huge map reduce job can actually uh, trigger an error. That's possible if you don't make it non-strict, right? So I'm going to say dynamic partition. Let's say I'm going to call this as non-strict. It's just a setting, friends, right? It's just a setting. So I'll also say that, please let the dynamic partition to be true. I mean, if it is already set as true in the configuration file, that's a different story. So I'm just setting it, just in case, correct? So now I am doing the create table transaction by category. As I said, if you look at the syntax, right, Transaction number, transaction date, customer number, amount, all those things is coming except the category, because that is going to be the partitioned parameter, right? The category comes in here. The rest of the things follows the same order. If you see that, right? If you see this order, category, product, city, right? Here it is, category, uh, it's like product and city, right? Category has been taken out and used as a partitioning column here. So I am going to put this here, done. So it has done that. Now what am I supposed to do? I have created, if I go back and check it out here, friends, December DB, it has created the second table and it is empty because we haven't done the loading part. So the loading onto a dynamic partition, right? You cannot do a load. All you have to do is, the first one is a base table, right? The first one which contains all the records, right? Now I have to move the records from here and onto this location, on the partition table location, right? I have to move that. If I move that, it is going to kick in a MapReduce job. It is going to kick in a MapReduce job. Then it is going to put the, it's going to create partitions at runtime, right, friends? So I'm saying insert override table. This is a syntax for that. Insert override. Uh, uh, Insert override table transaction records by state, correct? So this is the second table, correct? uh, oh sorry, here insert I'm sorry, insert override table transaction records by category, right? This is the table which we have created, right? And partition, I'm again stating that, partition that, okay, partition based on category. Then I say select this from transaction record, which is the base table, distributed by category. So it is going to distribute it, like, it's going to create the reducer and make sure that, it gets distributed, right? So I'm going to run this, friends. Just going to run this. So this is going to kick in a MapReduce process, and it's going to create it is expected to create the partitions and put the data accordingly, right? So if I, it is basically, we have multiple categories, right? So I'm going to put the data based on category. Friends, are you clear so far whatever I am doing? So it has created that many partitions, right? What override does? Okay, I'll come to that, Mohit. Good question. Yeah, so far so good, excellent. So let's say I go back here. If you look at it, right, this is where it has put the partitions. If you look at it, it has created how many categories? Like approximately 15 or something, right? If I go to puzzles, I have the part file, and it has put all the data here, right? I have all the data here, correct? And if I go to something else, games, I have all this thing which are pertaining to games, correct? So it has it has partitioned the data and put the thing, it has processed MapReduce, and it has it has distributed, right? When you say distribute by, right, it distributes it based on, it distributes the data and to fit in nicely at each partition, right? So Yuva Kumar, that's precisely what you're asking. And Mohit is asking, what does override do? So friends, this is where I'm coming to, right? He's asking what is override. So that's insert override. I can also do insert table, nothing will happen, right? Suppose I execute this one more time, right? Mohit, if I execute the same thing again, so it's going to create again, right? So every time when I do a override, right, it wipes out everything. It wipes out everything, from that table, then redo it just does it again, right? It just overwrites it so that, it is just one copy every time. So we are ensuring that, it properly works. So let me show you one thing. Initially when I created the table, right, when I loaded it, look at this, load data. I also did a override here, correct? Suppose I do not have override. If I again load it, right? It will create a copy of this file in the warehouse, right? So I'll show you what it has done since you have asked it, right? I'll show you if I can see that part where it is loaded and all that, right? Okay, I can't. Okay, let me just simply do that part and show you again, just a second. Let me load it again, no harm, right? Let me load it again because the table is anyway there. If you see it carefully, right, it says copying data from this location, copying data, right, loading data to this, deprecated, deleted. Look at this. It has deleted it. Also, it has deleted what was contained there earlier. Now it is going to put this again, right? If I do not put overwrite, it would have created a copy of this file. So it will have two identical copies, right, Mohit? So overwrite is generally used so that, we always use one copy. Is that fine? All right. Awesome. So I've created the partition, if I want to query it, right? Let's say I want to query it by games, right? Because Hive is all about friends. We need to intuitively partition it, and I can do extensive querying. Although it has got high throughput, we can still use our we can still use if we are very clear and correct about the partitioning and some of the indexing capabilities, right? We can exploit those things. Then we can use we can do a faster analysis, right? So let's say select star from transaction uh, by category. I don't know, yeah, transaction records, right? Records by category where um, categories is games, right? If I want to query this, for example, what is it saying? Okay, sorry, category, right? This is what I have. Again, I am getting a error, not supported. Oh, this is my bad, friends. Sorry about that. Okay, so it comes less than, it's just super fast, the way it fetched so many rows, right? So because it is partition, if it is not partition, the time it takes, right, in a typical map reduce, right? We just saw the time. If it doesn't, here and all, if it is partition, it's not even doing the map reduce, right? We are avoiding the map reduce. So if it is not that, then it takes, let's say I if I say something like, this is partition on category, right? If I say where something else, if I do, it's going to kick in a map reduce. Can we partition by multiple fields? Yes, Mohit, it's possible to, right? Let's say city is equal to um, let's look at the data just a minute. Orlando, right? Sorry. Yeah, look at this. Because this is not a partitioned column, right? City, right? So it is kicking in a map reduce. Sub partition, yeah, Anirban, you can have partition within a partition. It's supported here as well. So it has taken, look at the, although it is 450 rows, look at the time it has taken, right? We were able to fetch 360, 3000 some rows in, less than a second, right? So we can very well avoid the map reduce, and the idea is to do the dynamic partition in a very efficient way, right? So friends, I hope you enjoyed the demo. I just thought, I'll give you a dosage of, what Pig and Hive, what is the power of Pig and Hive, right? So I'll take up some, can you tell us, I think one question which uh, whether I've missed any question. All right. So friends, any questions here? Can I take the questions from now? Hope you enjoyed the demo. Was it useful to you? So let me close this. MapReduce not required. Yuvakumar actually. Oh, thanks. MapReduce not required. No, Yuvakumar is asking. No, the point is, Yuvakumar, once you have done the partition, right? Once the data is already segregated, distributed by based on the partitions, then it is like, the way it is done, right? It is all, Hive doesn't need on those partitioned data, right? Partition fields, Hive doesn't require to execute MapReduce to find out. So it simply does a kind of, it loads from that location, from the warehouse, right? Whereas if you do not have anything, right? If I try to query it on a field which is not partitioned, right? Then you need to, then it triggers MapReduce, which is time taking, right? Okay, Tushar is saying it was useful. I want to know the name of the reference book to understand, learn various commands. Tushar, definitely be my guest on this. So you have, one of the books which I can advocate is like, definitive Hadoop definitive guide. You can probably take a look. So it has got a lot of useful information. There are numerous books, Tushar. I don't want to influence you here, but there are numerous books here, right? So, friends, am I audible? Tushar says I lost voice. Am I audible here? Anybody facing audio issues? All right. Tushar, probably at your end is what I'm thinking. Okay. How do I execute pig or hive? Phil is asking. Pig is nothing, Phil, it's quite simple, right? I can run the commands in pig using the grunt shell, or I can say, put the series of pig commands, in a .pig file and just run it as, from the file, from the shell prompt, right? That's what I did. Sample.pig, I ran it for you, right? So that I can do. And similarly, Hive, you have the, the way we ran it from the interactive shell here. I mean, Hive shell, I would say, right? Uh, this is, I can still do all the things here. I can also put all the series of, commands and put it as .sql file and run it from the uh, command prompt, right? That's also possible in Hive as well. Correct, friends? So, any other questions you have? What software I've installed for Pig and Hive? I have to install. So Anirban, the point is, you can go to, once you have installed Hadoop, of course, Hadoop is required, right? Because this is a Hadoop ecosystem tool, right? Both of them. So Hadoop is needed. Once you have installed the Hadoop, right? Then you can go to the, go to the Pig Apache and, look for one of the stable releases over there, install that. It'll come up with the, tar, tar ball, and, you just need to untar that, right? Then it should be installed. And similarly, you need to do for the Hive as well, right? Just go to the Apache site. That's the best source. What is the main purpose of partitioning? Okay, Alexander is asking. I'll tell you the main purpose of partitioning is, partitioning is nothing but, segregation of data, Alexander, right? It's just a data segregation for you to, main purpose is to, if I need to query, friends, this is used in the database as well, right? If you have seen some of the databases which are in use, even the RDBMS and all that, we partition the data. Why do we need to do a partition? The idea is, for faster querying and all that, right? Because if my data set is, having like 100,000 rows, if I have like, let's say 5 different partitions, and if I can slice and dice on those partitioned area, right? Which is like, probably 20,000. I may be querying on the 20,000 rows, which is going to be definitely faster, right? So that's one of the basis for us to do partitioning. Please type your email address. Tushar, I would suggest, because I don't want you guys to get disappointed here. The reason is, I don't want to be the bottleneck in case if I don't respond and all that. I can give the email address, but my point is, please talk to the Edureka support team, because they definitely work with SLA. They are SLA driven teams, so they definitely, they are pretty good in responding back and all that. Which platform do I need to use, Windows or Linux? So Tushar, I think it's absolutely left to you. But Linux, Linux is a great combination to have, right? Sure. I am not from technical background. Will it help me to get a job? Vibo. Okay. Um, Vibo, it's all about, your, see, if you're not from technical background, you can definitely look at it from analytics aspect as well, right? It is like, see, people are a lot of BAs and all, they have this knowledge as well, but they can, if you are onto the business analytics front, right, that is one of the areas you can look into that, right? But still, even if you're a non-technical person, right, it's good to have this knowledge so that uh, let's some of the BAs have also taken this course, and there are people who are in the analytics, people who are in the testing background, because data quality is one of the rising domains, right? So that involves a lot of qualitative aspects in the testing, right? So BA people, exactly, right? So those people, they also need to have knowledge in this, right? Because they need to know the possibilities, what big data can do and all that, right? So even though those I would say, it's going to be very useful that way. Will it help for data scientist? Okay, that's a data scientist is a, it's a pretty, the point is data scientist is a, it's a very, um, how to put it here? It is a very heavy, highly responsible job, right? And they are fairly well paid. Top-notch data scientists are very, very well paid. The reason being, they have a breadth of knowledge, right? They not only know big data, they have a good grip on the architecture. They have good grip on the, uh, let's say, a lot of algorithms, and they are very good in algos, right? Very good in algorithms, and they can optimize. They're very good in analyzing the algorithms and even optimizing them. So they are good in many of these things, and they also very good in technology. They also know a few domains, so they have a very good spread of knowledge, right? Which they really put to use, doing the data, data analysis and all that. So it's a very fancy, it's a very it's a job that comes with, definitely that pays you well, but you need to really have good knowledge. You need to develop that, correct? How to start working on this big data? Who will give us an opportunity? Tushar, a lot of people have asked me this question. The point is, like, big data is, it is really picking up. So the supply versus demand, if you see the graph, right, the supply is like very less compared to the demand. Demand is growing like monster, right? And the data is only going to grow for the next 5 to 10 years, right? It's going to grow and grow and grow, and you'll have people need to analyze the data. There's a lot of data related work, right? It's just not big data is a, as I told you, it has got varieties of roles. So you don't people again they make a, they think that, it's just a big data developer and Java, they get constrained. It's not like that. Big data has got architect role, big data has got developer role, and you have big developer, you have high analysts, and you have big data analysts, you have big data, let's say, testers, and you have Hadoop admins, right? There are multiple flavors of jobs, right? But you need to definitely have a good grasp of on the architecture and all that, right? So yeah, it's absolute, the possibilities are, infinite, I would say. Lots and lots of possibilities, and lots of areas are opening up, right? It's a very attractive proposition. It's a very, uh, you know, great skill set to, add on, right? Because it's only going to grow, and the future is pretty, yes, looks very certain and very bright on this front, right? Any other questions, friends? All right, friends. You can, I think this session has been recorded, so you will definitely have the recording in the probably in the next 24 hours or so. Do you need email ID? No, Vaibhav, I think any, okay, I have few other questions coming up. Let me answer this. Do you need email ID? No, Vaibhav, I think if you've registered for the course, right? Anyway, you will be informed about the recording and all that. Any idea on big data program management? Of course, Kumar. The point is, well, I didn't mention about that. So some of the project managers, right? I've seen people working in product companies and all that. So they also have managers, some of the people work in the practice, right? Big data practice in some of the companies, right? And they have head of head big data practice people work on, and big data research people work on some research projects, people work on prototypes, right? And people work on, like as you have seen, as you have asked, program management, right? Even for you to do, let's say you are doing a agile, uh, using the agile methodology here to manage projects and all that. If you're doing program management, project management, whatever it is here, if you have a good grip on the big data, so that's going to definitely help you even in the program management perspective, right? So a lot of people have gained knowledge in this front also, because I've handled a lot of classes here, and I've seen a very diverse set of people coming in for the class, because they want to gain this, and they don't want to miss the boat. The point is, they really want to gain traction in this, because this is the in thing right now. Big data admin need idea. Okay, next question is, big data admin need idea on big data programmer. Anirban, both are, kind of different roles to have. Okay, big data programmer is a very generic one. You can have big data programmer. It's like, somebody is like a pig programmer or Java programmer. You can have varieties of roles within that itself, right? Big data admin, again, if are you talking about a Hadoop administrator, or are you talking about some HBase administrator, right? So it is lots and lots of offshoots are there within each of them, right? That really is, gives a multiple possibilities, right? Hadoop administrator, exactly. How to choose specific stream. So Mohit, if you are very new, right? You can look at it from this angle, right? If you're wanting to become a big data Hadoop developer, or or architect, something like that, you can probably choose some of the courses. Well, I mean, I'm leaving it to your choice, but all I'm saying is, you can look into a course like, big data, right? Which is, for example, I can say from Edureka, because I work with them. Uh, they have courses tailor-made for, big data, uh, someone who can start from the scratch, right? So they have courses like that. They also have courses on analytics. They also have courses for, so many other. You can take a look, and you are free to choose from other providers too. But I'm saying, just look at it, and you can definitely, because they have a plethora of courses. You can probably, look at it to get some idea what I'm talking about, right? So I know SAS and R. Will Hadoop can help in analytics domain? Absolutely, Aditya. SAS and R does analytics, but if you are analyzing the data that is coming from Hadoop, why not, right? You should be able to do that, correct? So it's definitely going to help. Is that clear, friends? All right. So, friends, I think it was a pleasure uh, talking to you guys, and my request is, please provide the feedback towards the end. I really, because some of the people have dropped out now, so from this, so thanks very much. In fact, I'm really glad that we had a. I hope we had a good session. So please provide your thoughts and feedback, your suggestions, because that goes a long way for us. That really helps us, right? Thank you so much, friends, one more time, and you all have a fantastic future ahead. Thank you.